Welcome to Steps to the Stage, a 7th Street Community Theater podcast.
Hello and welcome to Steps to the Stage, the community theater podcast where we talk to the theater professionals you know and love. I am Marley, and today we're covering Chino Community Theater's 3 on the Edge festival featuring Breathing Corpses, Savage and Limbo, and Bending the Spoon. Today I have Savage and Limbo, cast and director with me. So if everyone could just introduce themselves and say what role you are in the show.
I'll start. I'm Michelle Knight-Reinhart. I am the director of Savage and Limbo.
I'm Alex Huey, and I will be playing Denise Savage.
I'm Bodhi Aguirre, and I'll be playing Tony Aronica.
I'm Rafael Ortega, and I'll be playing Merc.
I love it. Okay, so just starting off, for our director, can you just give like a short little synopsis of the play and what everyone's going to see without giving in too much away?
To kind of steal from the back of the script, it takes place in a seedy-ish bar in the Bronx, circa 1984. These are 5 people who have known each other kind of peripherally, maybe a little more personally, a couple of them, since grade school. They all went to St. Anthony's. They all grew up in the same Bronx neighborhood, and they all kind of find themselves in this bar on a Monday night, and it's kind of dead, and their lives kind of intersect. So that would be, and it's just that slice of life. It's a one act. It's a long one act. Runs about 80-ish, 80 to 90 minutes.
Amazing. And just like starting off for our director perspective, what kind of drew you to the play and why did you want to see it on this stage?
Well, when I was in college, this play, Linda, one of the characters in the play, she has this monologue that was done all the time by women, young women in college. It was a very popular monologue of the time in the 90s. And then John Patrick Shanley, I like his work. He wrote Doubt. He wrote Danny in the Deep Blue Sea. Yeah, yeah. And he wrote the screenplay to Moonstruck, and so I'm a fan of his work as well. So I was drawn to him as a playwright. And the characters are and the more you talk about it, like with most well-written things, there's so many things that are in the subtext there that you're pulling those threads. I like to call it pulling the threads of the material because, what does that unravel and what does that unravel? And so I think that they've been doing their work and they've been revealing a lot of things about the characters that I think they've built into their characters. Amazing.
And then from the actor perspective, how did any of you feel when you first read it or first started working with this play?
Well, I've been familiar with Shanley for a bit. I came across him through like a really, it wasn't a one act, but it was a short play called Dreamer Examines His Pillow. And yeah, he's just such a, gritty, I wouldn't say that, but for lack of a better term, gritty writer. It's just that grittiness bleeds over into all of his work, and it's just so fun listening to these people and their humor. He always kind of writes from the lens of someone in that time, like New York. It's such an interesting little reflection of where he came from, and you see that. So this is just another instance of that. And getting to work on Shanley, the invitation just sort of popped up, and I was like, I have to do one Shanley play at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Anybody else actor perspective?
I had a lot of fun working on this play. When I was reading lines with friends, one of my friends was like, "Oh, this is a really good character. You can have a lot of fun with this one. He's really just like mouthy and loud, and but there's something lovable about him." I'm probably going off on a tangent here from your original question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so, but I really wanted to address the context of the play itself. I think a lot of it has to do with regret. From my perspective, I think oftentimes when I'm with people who are younger, they're like, "Oh, you can't regret anything because you wouldn't be where you are today." And I'm like, sometimes I hate where I am. So regret is definitely part of growing up. Like you definitely have to acknowledge that it happens and is part of the experience of life.
Yeah. Amazing. Alex, you have any?
The biggest thing I want to add is just in Shanley's writing, just how honest it is, and the way he delves into the human condition as a whole is very unique
Yeah.
and special.
Yeah. I love that. We kind of talked about in our conversation with Breathing Corpses, like something real, but also like dark and comedy. So it's just been interesting, like how all these plays explore like humanity.
Yes.
More like, how does it feel? Because there is some comedy elements, right?
Yes.
How does it feel kind of exploring acting and directing comedy, but also like real things going on? And there is like a dark undertone. So like, how's that been in the process for everybody?
I've almost broken up a couple times during rehearsal. Like I crack a smile, and it's very much like that Saturday Night Live, like cracking like character, and just like, okay, this is funny, but it's also like we're trying to hold it together at some points, and it's interesting to see that.
Sometimes it's funny because it's not funny.
Exactly.
In that dark humor.
Uncomfortable laughter.
Yes.
Like you shouldn't be laughing. You know, you do.
I think Merc has a lot of, even though it's not intentional, but he has a lot of the comic relief because his character is so straightforward all the time. He doesn't say things to be funny, but as you view them as the audience, they're pretty funny. And you think, is that really, I never thought of it that way. You know, he has a really good line about people wonder why it's happening. They do something and they wonder why it's happening. It's happening because they're doing it. So, you know, that whole, like she said, the human condition of like, well, why is this happening to me? You know, the guy who has the same thing for lunch every day and he complains. He says, who packs your lunch? And he says, I do. So, you know, things happen because you do them to yourself. And Denise Savage, the Savage who is in Limbo, and she, you know, people give her choices at one point in the play and she doesn't want them, even though she wants to change. She wants change. That's a huge thing that she wants. But she doesn't want to do anything to change except talk about it.
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah.
If I could interject, I think that's also kind of why the humor pops up, is because so many of the decisions that these characters make, they're kind of self-wrought. Like like you were saying that the play deals a lot with regret. It deals with regret in the sense that these people are so fed up with their lives. They're fed up with where they're at. Maybe not all the characters, but like I'm gonna say 90% of characters. That's not a way to what do you call it? Yeah, but most of the characters deal with regret in that sense, and it's funny what they do in order to try to ameliorate the regret, or like where they take off from, like how they proceed from that point of regret. That's what's so funny. Is like what that's what you're gonna do next. You know, it's like there's so many instances where these people are trying to mull over their decisions in the course of the play with this audience of people in this bar. And that's hilarious. That's a hilarious thing to see. People trying to change their lives in front of people in a bar of all settings, you know?
Yeah.
Which is where most people would probably try to change their lives.
That's true.
But it's,
Yeah.
I think I was talking about the play and the themes with someone today, as a matter of fact. And she was saying, well, isn't limbo kind of the constant? Like we think about limbo as being something, but really, aren't we all kind of always in kind of a limbo? You know, even if we have a routine or whatever, we always feel like there might be something else out there. So it's the constant, which I thought was a really interesting concept of limbo being the constant in your life.
Yeah, that is very interesting. And then it's also hard because I feel like so much of acting is based on like, what does the character want? And like, how do we get there? And then if all these characters are kind of stuck, you know, like it's probably an interesting like process. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's been like the best, like, have you had like a most challenging like acting moment just in like one setting? Like you have to be witty and dark. How's that been the process for you guys?
Well, the most complex part of my character is probably just his quick talk. He's very fast paced, very New York talking guy, and trying to find my beats in those moments and trying to find those pauses and give him almost that fully realized human quality. Because oftentimes we see people from New York. I'm from New York. I'm originally from upstate New York, and it was really easy to kind of slip into that role for me. But I think it's also in some ways. But I think what that quick pace sort of thing could often be like a caricature, but it's not. Like it's definitely part of the seam of a lot of these people that are from that area, from New York. Is very just like quick paced. And I often tell people all the time, like, I feel annoying living in California when I talk to my friends and stuff, because I'm constantly screaming and yelling. And that was my dinner table. Like, that was my conversation. Like, I had to be heard by my family. So I had to constantly scream over everyone and talk loud and just like be that animated person just to exist in my family even.
Yeah. Anybody else? A part of your process? Something challenging or something like a good moment?
I think Denise has a couple of monologues, a couple of very long monologues in the show, and both of those I found interesting challenges, both in different ways, because just the way she expresses herself, she's trying to communicate something very deep, and the way she goes about it is part of where the humor comes from her, because it comes across very uniquely, because I don't want to give too much away.
Yes.
But just finding that where that all of that is coming from her, to make her human, and not just a caricature, like we said. But really finding those human elements, but allowing the humor to come through, because she's just really trying to build a connection. She's trying to make change and, move her life forward in ways that just don't happen because reasons
don't happen.
Because it doesn't happen.
Yep.
I mean, can I also add on? I think so many of these people, they have so many idiosyncrasies. Like, they're so particular. And you see that in New York. You see this giant diversity of people, and they're all just in this small place. And you get a glimpse into all these very like different lives. And I think, there's something to that. Like, we get to work on all these, we get to figure out these particulars that are inherent to the character. These very eccentric, eclectic mix of characters. I think I'm just drown out there.
No, you just exactly. Yeah.
I think another really interesting thing for me about the show is the different energies that the different characters bring into the show, because it starts out and you have just Merc and April on the stage already. They're there. And they have kind of this calm, easygoing, just simple energy. And then Denise bursts in, and she even says, one of her first lines is, "I've got energy."
Yeah.
So she brings it up. And then Linda comes in, and she brings a different energy, because she's got a different energy of she's upset. And Denise is kind of frantic, not really upset. She's just frantic because she's looking for something exciting, even though it's a Monday night, And then Tony comes on, and he has this other burst of energy because he's had this epiphany, and he wants everyone to know, and he wants to explain himself and have them understand and tell him, yes, you can make a change, and you can do great things, So it's all of them kind of maneuvering and trying to bring the energy up or pull the energy down. And you have like Merc's character, who kind of wants things to be, it's his bar. He has a certain way he likes things to be, and he wants to keep the energy here. And so having different energies come in, kind of throw him off,
interesting rhythm breaks and changes and things. Very interesting. And then also just having it all be in a bar is really interesting. So how's, like, from the production side, like setting, costumes, is anyone doing some accents? Like, how has the production, the design kind of like helped you with the show?
We got some of them are doing accents, and we looked up and boroughs in New York. We found something interesting because that it's not necessarily specific to a borough, but more the ethnic makeup or your family, not necessarily that borough. Like there's not necessarily a huge difference between a Bronx and a Brooklyn and Staten Island, depending on if you are Italian or Jewish or
interesting.
Polish or what your ethnic background is and stuff. So there's some accents. And then there's some, as far as the costuming, we do 80s. So like biggish hair and for the ladies. And
Colorful.
Yep.
Very cool.
Leather pants.
Leather
for Tony.
pants.
Yes, leather pants.
So that should add to the colors of the character. And then an interesting thing about it being in a bar is that I guess people notice this right away.
Yeah.
But Merc never really mixes drinks. They just kind of appear.
Interesting.
It's like, did he just know who's coming in and what they're going to order, or is it just? And then I thought about that, like metaphorically, I guess, or maybe realistically. How often do you notice your bartender mixing your drink when you order it?
That's so true.
You don't always. You order it, you turn, and you are distracted, and then suddenly it appears.
Mm-hmm.
And you assume they mixed it, but you don't really know.
It's there.
It's there. It's what I ordered. So, yeah, I mean, sometimes you watch, and sometimes it's a thing. It's a show thing. But he's not a showy kind of guy. So he would just, I imagine that he would quietly mix it and then hand it to you. And so it's kind of a revealing thing about Merc is that it just appears because he seems reliable. He's like solid, and he likes things to be how he likes them. And so for him not to make a big fuss about mixing drinks is kind of metaphorical to Merc, I think.
Yeah. Reading it the first time, I actually thought it was kind of like an absurdist thing. It's just the way it's mentioned in the script. It's just like he doesn't prepare drinks. They just pop up from behind the bar. He puts them on the thing. And hearing this take, it's interesting because considering the themes of the play, you start to see like there is this layer of almost like expectation. Like he knows what each person might be ordered or what people most likely order. Mm-hmm. It's a whole headache to try to get into why that's the mechanic,
Mm-hmm.
But it's just one of those little interesting things,
Yeah, I love that. Kind of like, it's like realistic. There's like a weird, like not naturalist sort of thing going on.
Yeah. It's also been interesting having to really pay attention more than I've ever experienced before of being aware of where my drink sat in the room the whole time during the show.
Yes, very true.
It's become an additional element of the character as well.
Yeah. Wow. Like different weird things, part of your process you have to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, because there's things that are kind of repetitive as far as lines or actions.
Yeah.
So we were kind of it was almost a noises off kind of moment where it's like, no, order the drink, leave the drink on the bar, walk away. Oh, no, this time you have to take the drink and leave it on the table. So it's just funny.
Yeah.
Because they have to have it and it has to be there for him to use later or whatever.
Exactly. Well, this has been an amazing conversation, guys. As we wrap up, can everyone, like, if you were to sell the word in one word, you just give me one word, we'll go down the line, that you could be like, oh, someone would be intrigued to watch this play. Over here.
Probably flabbergasted. I like that word. I'm gonna throw out a big word there.
I love it.
The word that I probably isn't even in the dictionary. I don't know.
No, it is.
Is it?
It's a real word.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a real
Okay. Cool.
I'll go hyphenated word if this is even
It's
dead
allowed.
plant. Dead plant.
Okay.
Dead plants. Let's make it plural.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
Are they dead? Yeah. They're
Yeah,
dead.
they're
Dead
dead.
plants. I stick to my guns.
That's perfect.
Dead plants.
Epiphanies.
Okay.
Mm.
Cool.
Yeah. Connection and understanding. I'm gonna use both of those.
I like that we ended on that note.
Yeah.
As opposed to dead plans.
Mhm.
Right, amazing. So, what days is Savage and Limbo performing?
We open on Friday, May 9th, and then we have a performance on Sunday, May 11th. So bring your mom. And then
Yes.
Saturday, May 17th, we have a matinee. And then Thursday, May 22nd, and Saturday, May 24th at 7:30 p.m. We have shows. So we have a total of
Amazing.
5.
Well, amazing. It sounds amazing and interesting. So, thank you everyone for chatting with me today.
And there's also Breathing Corpses and Bending the Spoon that are also part of the festival. And all of them have the mature audience warning because they all contain
Yes.
strong language and themes
yes,
and
they should
mature
all be
themes.
amazing, all in rep with each other. So,
Yes.
catch
Yeah.
all of them. If you're going to buy tickets for one, buy them for all.
Yes.
do.
Well, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Mar.
Thanks for listening to Steps to the Stage, a 7th Street Community Theater podcast. Follow us on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review and a 5-star rating. It really helps. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Special thanks to Chino Community Theater and Chino Community Children's Theater for their generous support. And very special thank you to the listeners. Steps to the Stage was created by Joey Rice and Kirk Lane. Logo created by Marley Lane. Original music by Joey Rice. Your host, Marley Lane. Engineer and producer, Joey Rice. Engineer and executive producer, Kirk Lane.